Today we're talking entrepreneurship, business, side hustles, and how multipotentialites start to put it all together. It's a topic we've talked about from time to time here on the Multipod, but it's been a little while, and we had a great opportunity to do so as Carolyn Boyce makes her debut here on the podcast. She is in a moment of trying to figure out exactly what to do with the side hustle, her side hustle ideas, and see where that evolves. And so I reached out to her and said, hey, well, why don't we brainstorm and share some ideas and a bit of your backstory and what's gotten you to this point here on the podcast, share it with our audience, because I know it's something that will resonate with a lot of people. A lot of us are trying or have been trying to figure out, how to put all these ideas together. And we talk about that today quite a bit about identity, branding, how you want to kind of present yourself so that people understand that you're about more than just that one thing. It applies, not just to like job and career, but also our businesses, because it's pretty hard for us to just choose that one thing that we want to do. We want something that has lots of variety and, figure out a way that works not just for our clients, the people we want to help, but of course for ourselves as well, to maintain our interest and sustain that commitment and the energy, that it takes to keep a business going, whether it's full-time or side hustle for an indefinite period. So very interesting conversation. And if you're in that moment of really doing some brainstorming and planning and figuring out where to go next, I know that you'll enjoy this and hopefully find some great inspiration. So let's dive in and hear all about it. Alrighty, welcome back, everybody. This is the Multipod, and I'm joined by my good friend Carolyn. It's great to see you here. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Really
you've been
happy to
on
be
my
here.
list for a while. Yeah, and I always say, this show pretty much all the time that timing works out the way it's supposed to. So when I saw a post that you made not too long ago on our Indie Life Collective, our community, and everyone watching who's not a member, you're welcome to check it out. It's free, so I encourage you to, I'll put the links in and all that. But you talked about building a business for multipotentialites, and with that, of course, mindset, and that spoke to me right away. I was like, well, hey, I want to pick your brain about that and get your experience and what you've learned, what you brainstorm, and then why not share it with our audience? Because we talk a lot about entrepreneurship, business on the show. It's not the only topic by any means, but it often comes up. And, because a lot of us have figured out that it's hard to kind of pick that one job, of course, and fit that one thing into our lives to basically make a living and, make ends meet when we often gravitate towards being self-employed or having business and therefore trying to get more variety. That's the challenge, but at least there's an opportunity. I think when you're an entrepreneur, you can potentially bring in different interests and put it under one umbrella. So I'm keen to share what you've developed so far, what you've come up with, and we talked a bit before we started, just that doesn't mean that you've figured it all out or you're on your way yet, but at least to share that workflow, right? That brainstorming process would be really interesting. So if you
learn from what I've done wrong.
That's how you learn. I mean, I've been really leaning into lately the whole thing about like, we only really learn from quote unquote failure. You can't really call it failure anyway. You learn from mistakes. That's how you grow. So if you've made mistakes, that's wonderful because we'll learn from it. So
yes.
At any rate, the proverbial question is, if you sum up maybe your business idea in one way, in one sentence, one elevator pitch, what would you say?
So I'm connecting people with the missions that they value, so that they can work, live, travel in those values.
Okay.
So that's, maybe with a nonprofit or a social enterprise, cooperative.
Yeah.
Probably mostly nonprofits that I'm going to be working with.
Cool. And then what kind of, I guess, services, by the sounds of it, maybe products could stem from that?
Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to figure out right now. I have so much content that feeds into this from the various multi-potential arms. And I'm like bringing that all together in one cohesive website. And then so what I figured out is that is the main, what I told you, that's my mission. That's how I can help people and nonprofits and, just the greater good of society.
Hmm.
Um, I've got those little pieces that I can provide either as free content, free resources, or, low cost entry content. It's that middle piece, like the signature,
Hmm.
that middle piece of the funnel that I still need to figure out. And, previously in my other pursuits, like, yes, we'll put this package together and, all these line items and this is how much it is. But this time I am, having learned from experience that you can't just build it and they will come.
Ah, yes.
Like I plan to provide all that content that I've had before and like rework it for this purpose,
Hmm.
and see what really takes off and, what people want at, those middle points. So yeah,
Yep.
I have some ideas, but they're still, yeah, still very much in the early stages of development in my brain.
Hmm. Well, maybe I guess it'd be good if we give a bit of background context, like what were you doing in the lead up to maybe the phase you're in right now, for work, skills, professional
Mhm.
skills and development. What have you been up to kind of the last few years?
Okay, well, where to start? I mean, there's so many places as a multi-potentialite that I can, just step into and start from. So
Mm,
I think I would just start from maybe when I joined ILC, which was previously Location Indie.
hmm
At that time, it was March 2020.
hmm
I actually joined on my birthday. It was an important birthday.
hmm
And that was the first day it was the first day of the shutdown in Ohio. I like to, it's a
Yeah.
very, um, very important pinpoint in my life that I joined on that day. My previous job was as a paralegal at
Hmm.
personal injury firm. And
Ah,
that's where I can go on a tangent about the previous life, but I
mm,
don't want to go there
yeah,
because we're working toward the future now.
good.
My original business plan at that time was to provide independent paralegal and policy research work. So I'd done policy research before and I really liked that.
Hmm.
But then coming into the community, I learned about all of the different ways that I could make money online. Like
Yeah.
previously, I just thought it was I needed to know how to code or do drop
Yeah.
shipping or something. So, listening to other podcasts about how people were traveling and working and, making money online and
Hmm.
um, just had given me a lot of ideas. So I moved into being an online business manager. I was also doing some memoir writing coaching.
All right.
Um, and then I was doing some team management, project management, kind of event stuff,
Hmm.
because all of these things I could pull from my background. It's just kind of all over the place. So
Hmm.
I ended up going back to work again as a paralegal. So that brings us to the most recent time, which was last year.
Hmm.
I had already started doing a blog called Eco Wander Woman.
Yeah.
And that played well to my travel memoir writing. I am a writer. I
Hmm.
like writing memoir. Um,
Hmm.
and I wanted to bring that into the travel space because I had joined I began a master's program,
Yeah.
a master's in public administration and nonprofit management.
Hmm.
And I really began thinking about how I wanted to use that when I graduate and just, brainstorming with myself. What do I really enjoy? And sustainable travel is where I landed.
Hmm.
So the Eco Wonder Woman piece that I was already doing played well into that.
Hmm.
As you know, last summer I was building some packages. I was meeting with people to find out like what they would want in travel packing lists and things like that.
Right.
And so I have a lot of content that I haven't developed yet. Like it's all in notes because then I moved on to the next thing, which was building these packages to help people on the ground find places that they could be doing more sustainable travel in where they stay or
Right.
um
And is that the thing you helped us with?
That's the thing that I helped you guys with.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So I'll just
And
give a bit of context. So my family, we traveled to Nova Scotia last summer, late July, and I knew you were doing this thing and you were looking for people to test it out. I said, sure. I mean, why not? So and it was something we're interested in, sustainable travel. And it was interesting in our case because we drove, we weren't flying. My initial thought was, well, I hope you can help, but it's kind of like if we're not flying, it
mhm,
felt like there wasn't that much else that's always the biggest footprint. I mean, supposedly of your ecological, environmental, impact, right? Traveling, if you're driving, it's not quite as bad. But then you showed us, well, it's not just about that, of course. It's about local travel. It's about, kind of getting off the beaten path a bit and supporting local business and farmers markets and all this kind of stuff. It really opened my eyes to, the other kinds of possibilities. And then in turn, the fact that you didn't so much plan the trip and where to go. I had done a lot of that too, but you could kind of integrate a lot of those ideas into what
mhm.
we had already were thinking of doing. And then, check this out. Doing a lot of the research, just the time to do the research was really helpful. So I found it really useful and interesting. And I've been meaning to ask you really about, where you're going next with that offer.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you found it useful and interesting.
Yeah.
As much as I wanted to provide that, I didn't really enjoy doing the research behind it. Like,
It's a lot of time.
it was a lot of time. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I kept thinking about how can I streamline this, but you really can't because there's just
Mm.
so many variables in, one person's or one family's travel.
Yeah.
So I moved on from that pretty quickly
Mm.
and created a new business called CS Voice Nonprofit Solutions. So
Mm-hmm.
I kind of, swung back to, business management, but now in the nonprofit space, which is where I've done a lot of work in my career before, and landed a client early this year.
Yeah.
Um, and was just, trying to figure out where to go from here. Do I find new clients? What do I do with Eco Wonder Woman? I miss her.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
do I do something more with the travel memoir writing?
Yep.
Just, wanting to figure out, but just also living in right now and where I'm at right now. So where I'm at right now is I'm going back to full-time work,
Mm.
at this nonprofit that I've been contracting with.
Okay.
And I'm very happy about this position. I'm going to be, it's downtown Chicago here, and I'm going to be the operations and administrative manager for them.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm still building that other piece, but this work is giving me the
Stability.
space to, yeah, stability. Thank you. The this job is giving me the stability to not be all over the place with everything else,
Right.
which is where I find myself when I don't have a steady income. I'm just like, what do I do? Well, this isn't working and that's not. So let's try this, and just kind of all over the place. So I've
Yep.
also been
Hmm.
I missed the part really important part of the sustainable travel piece, which is I've been working with Rise Travel Institute, and it's
Huh.
sustainable travel education. So I've
Yep.
been volunteering with them for about 2 years, and learning from that
Huh.
has really opened my eyes, and where it kind of informed where I want to take the combination of nonprofit work and travel and sustainability.
Okay. Interesting. So that the travel sustainability stuff sounds like it's going to be more of a side hustle for the next little
Yeah,
while,
I consider it's going to be a side hustle and kind of like my retirement plan.
right? Hmm. Well, I mean, okay, this is interesting. So this does change some of the context then. I feel like I'm sounding like a kind of a business coach here, which I'm not, but
No,
I
I
have learned
haven't
a
made
lot.
a great big announcement about it because it hasn't happened yet, but
Yeah.
so you probably didn't know about it. I think I may
Yeah.
have mentioned it in some masterminds.
Yeah, I guess so. But it's fine. As I say, I'm curious to see where to go from here in the sense
Yeah.
then if the business planning in your case is going to be a side hustle and therefore with less of the pressure, media pressure, for income and that kind of
Hmm.
thing, that does typically open up some, different avenues or things you can test and try out. If anything, we often need kind of at least a bit of urgency and deadlines or else we don't really get anything done. So
Right.
that's kind of a separate question. But regardless, like I feel you've got some really interesting ideas still, like the memoir writing and support for people do that. And we may have talked about this before, but like linking that back to people's travels experiences. And
Mm-hmm.
I know that I've talked to people in general over the time, like, well, what happens after travel, especially as you get older. And then if you start a family or whatever it is, you settle down and you're just not traveling the way you used to, especially if you were kind of backpacking and stuff in your 20s, right? And it's kind of, it can be hard to leave that life behind. Not that you necessarily should 100%, but still life changes. And, it's like I have often struggled with, well, how do I still keep those travel memories alive without it feeling like, oh, I'm just kind of rehashing some trip I did 15 years ago? No one wants to hear about that.
Mm-hmm.
There's value, I think, in those experiences. I have not this priority for me. It's be one of my dozens of things I could do, but to revisit those trips and the experiences, maybe that's part of the angle now as, being older and from a different place in life. But there's a memoir that could come out of that, and a travel memoir specifically,
Mm-hmm.
which is really interesting.
Yeah, and I really like that because it's so personal.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a memoir. It's about your life. And this is a very much a human endeavor. You
Yeah.
cannot AI your way through memoir. Like,
Yeah.
if you want it to be really meaningful to you and if you're gifting it to
Yeah.
children or
Yeah.
just having it as part of your legacy.
Hmm. Yeah. So I think we should start talking a bit about essentially data research. How do you find out where demand is and what
Mm-hmm.
people are willing to pay for? Because with this specific
Yeah.
idea as an example, like it sounds like an interesting idea on the surface of it, but are there enough people who are that interested, dedicated, committed that they don't not only want to create a memoir, let's say, of their travel experiences and stories, but they're willing to pay for someone to help them do that, to coach them, to be a ghostwriter or whatever it is you may end up doing. That's if there's people do that, there's demand. If there's enough demand, you have at least some kind of side hustle business, if not more than that. So how do
Mm-hmm.
we get that kind of data and research?
Well, honestly, I think that's just going to be a piece of the bigger picture.
Yeah.
And maybe that'll grow more as I build out services and branches. But I think to start out, that travel memoir piece is just going to be important in finding like what's really important to
Mm.
you as, as somebody who wants to just live your life holistically in your
Yeah.
values.
Mm.
So yeah, not as I don't want to provide it as a whole great big service. It's just part of the
Mm.
other service, which is telling your story, If you're trying to find work
Yeah.
in a nonprofit space, like
Mm.
you need your personal mission to align with theirs.
Hmm.
So how are you telling
Yeah, that's
that
interesting.
story, especially if it's nonprofits that's working in travel? So
Hmm.
I just see there's a lot of connections here. It's just figuring out and what again, like you said, what is the demand?
Yeah.
Um, and that's that. Other than bringing all of my content together cohesively in this website, I'm going to be
Mm.
working on that. I guess it's academic research slash market research slash uh, capstone for my Rise program.
Right. Right.
So I have been building out an outline,
Hmm.
and I want to find out. Well, first, there's so many pieces to this, but first is finding out what research has already been done on sustainable travel and digital nomads specifically,
Hmm.
and what digital nomads are doing in sustainable travel. How are they how are they being connected to these programs that exist? Like,
Yeah.
I know that there's programs in the Netherlands and
Hmm.
in Sweden maybe
Yeah.
Denmark. I think there's programs all over the place. So,
Hmm.
how are people finding out about these programs? How are they getting connected? What's the result?
Yeah.
So I might be doing some surveys on that, and it's like really, this is I think there's a lot of potential in this just because I'm in working in Rise, I know that there's
Mm.
demand for it. It's just reaching, like, building what I am good at
Yeah.
and what I want to do, building that for the demand.
Mm. Do you have a sense of if there's anyone else providing services to support people doing these kinds of things? If there's any businesses like that out there?
It's the only thing I can really think about is, volunteerism.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
there's so many of those, but
Mm.
that's not really, and that's not what I'm doing. That's not what I know I need to differentiate myself from that.
Yeah.
It's going to be more boutique. So yeah, that part, like, I'll need to figure out as well.
Hmm. So how do you juggle like kind of bouncing from, ideas, projects to project? And in the sense that there are things that you started, there's a foundation that's building, but then, and you could have three or four foundations going at the same time, right? How do you kind of manage your time and energy, focus and all that to go back and forth between different ideas?
Um, Create more hours in the day, get less sleep.
Yeah.
No, joking aside for that, it's difficult.
Yeah.
Um, it's been a struggle, and that's why I have not really built anything that has persisted,
Mm.
because I've been back and forth and, around the circle. And I think with, just bringing all of this together, it's going to satisfy my need for novelty and my need to do things in these different areas
Hmm.
while providing something that is, it's a concrete service. It's concrete.
Yeah.
How do I help a segment of people?
Yeah.
Anything, time management is important. So,
Hmm.
but resting is important too. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I don't have the answer on that.
Are there any programs, software, that you use or you recommend? Juggling projects, planning, brainstorming?
I'm really going back into Excel, honestly.
Oh, yeah?
I have used so many, like, I am an expert in ClickUp
Hmm.
and different CRMs. But I find, I build these things and then I don't use them.
Hmm.
And I don't necessarily like a lot of my things living in the cloud anymore. So,
Hmm.
yeah, old school Excel.
Yeah, that's right.
I
I
use
mean, if it works, yeah.
Squarespace.
Yeah.
I, if here's another thing, another version of me could be a Squarespace web designer,
Hmm.
because I love just fiddling around with my website.
Sure.
Add
Well, that's
add
that's
that to
part of
the
it.
plate of services.
There you go. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing with most potentialites. We've often
Hmm.
spent a decent amount of time learning skills and program software, right? And there's no need to hesitate to include that in as part of a service offer, especially if it's some kind of a support thing or a project manager or that kind
Hmm.
of thing, right? Bringing those different skills because, I mean, there's a good chance the project needs them. And if you can't do it, then someone else, you'd have to outsource to someone else. They'd have to hire someone else or you'd
Hmm.
have to learn it. But if you learn it already, even better. So, yeah. Do you feel the need then to be known for something or as someone?
Oh, good question. Do I feel the need?
Yeah.
Um, I think my needs are more internal
Hmm.
than needing to be known as. I guess. Oh, well, for business sake, that's more personal. But for business sake, yes, I need to be known as, the eco wonder woman who
Yeah.
connects connects folks with passions of theirs so that they can
Hmm.
live and
Well,
travel and work in their values.
maybe that's where you can lean into a bit as being the connector. You connect people
Hmm.
to project, which is basically how we started off, right? With your
Yeah.
kind of mission statement at the start, and it's connecting people who have different interests and so on. But there's some common threads, I guess. And I mean, a big challenge, and I think in life, whatever in general, is just getting people to find the right people, the people they need to know in that moment, perhaps. And if there's opportunities to then work on projects, collaborate, that's what this podcast is about. It's just introducing people to others who have those similar interests and bonds and values. So to be a person who actively facilitates that's a need, and that's really
Hmm.
interesting.
Yeah.
How we go about achieving that? I mean, blogging, podcasting,
There's so many options, right?
newsletter.
That's another thing you can get divided on, right? I've got all
Yeah.
the socials, I've got the
Mm.
LinkedIn, the Facebook, the Instagram, and I started a Substack.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you cannot do all those things and finish a master's program and work full time.
That's true.
So, um,
Hmm.
I want to. I've been thinking about this too. I have kind of just settled on LinkedIn, Substack, and YouTube.
Okay.
So more long form content. And then when I'm at the point where
Hmm.
I can pay somebody to use my content and split it up so that it's social media ready,
Yeah.
then we can come back to those other those pieces of social media. But
Right.
I do better with long form content.
Are you thinking like long form videos then on YouTube?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you started that already?
Nope.
Uh-huh.
No. Right now I'm just trying to get all my ducks in a row.
Yeah.
I'm yeah.
Hmm. Because I mean, well, you could call it a podcast, I guess. But I mean, YouTube. YouTube is now the biggest platform for podcasting. That's where most people go to find and listen and watch. And
Okay.
where was I talking about this? I was thought for a long time that, well, if it's on YouTube, then A, it has to be video, and B, people are there because they want to watch a podcast. But now it's evolved to the point, largely I think because so many people are paying for the YouTube annual subscription thing, which isn't all that expensive, and because of that, you don't get the ads, and most people are on their phone. You can close the phone, put it in your pocket without the video shutting off. That
Hmm.
makes all the difference. And that means that like the engagement, or I guess consumption attitudes have changed. And so people might watch like, the first 10 minutes of this episode, then they'll put it in their pocket with their earphones, go and do something, and
Yeah.
they're still listening. And then they
Yeah.
come back, and then, and that means, well, I mean, yes, video is helpful for sure to connection. You see the person's face and the body language and stuff, but I mean, it can still be audio. That's another thing too, is that historic, like long-term podcast, I guess, consumers still prefer audio more than anything because they don't need the visual distraction. It's nice to see
Hmm.
what people look like, but for the most part, yeah, they want to just kind of close their eyes and be in the moment and listen to what's being said. So that can go on YouTube, absolutely. So anyway, I'll just say that it's a very evolving platform for podcasting. Something to think about.
That is something to think about. You're very right. Like all the podcasts, whether it's on Spotify or YouTube that I listen to, it's
Hmm.
I'll have the video up on YouTube, but I'm running around doing different things. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's a good point.
Hmm. Well, what about like this is a bit of an arbitrary time period, but if it's 6 months, what about a year from now? I I mean, actually no. I want to say a year from now, where would you like to be? But does that mindset even register, or does that feel like you're kind of being pushed into a corner? Like
Um, no, I like to create yearly goals.
yeah, yeah.
Keeps me on track. Don't always hit all of them, but let's just say by next year, I would like to, oh boy, gonna have to write some of these ideas down.
It's recorded.
Um,
Don't worry.
I would, yeah, you can grab it from the show notes.
Yeah.
Um, I would definitely like to be, I want to have a lot of content on my website for people to access.
Hmm.
And make use of. Whether that evolves into some passive income for me through it, like, with
Hmm.
buying lists for packing lists for sustainable products or whatever. Not
Yeah.
really sure. Would be great if I could have some passive income by next year.
Hmm.
Because that is like that's a long-term goal. So content for sure.
Yep.
Maybe one solid service that I'm offering. I
Hmm.
am networking more with nonprofit community here in Chicago and online. So just
Yeah.
having a pipeline of organizations that might want to connect with what I'm doing.
Yeah. That might be the best lead, because
Yeah.
those are presumably organizations that have resources, some kind of
Hmm.
budget, and if they're looking to learn more about integrating sustainability or writing or whatever it is, right, in their stuff,
Yeah.
then you position yourself as an expert and you have a service and all the rest. Like, it's going where the people who have the resources. They can be individuals, but organizations are probably more likely
Hmm.
part of their budget. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and partnering with groups too, like Rise is a great one. Using those partners to kind of funnel some attention, I guess, your way, and then having people share it. I'll do a little plug for the idea of a little mini series. You could do like, well, our friend Jeff Harrell's done this, where he did like a short series of episodes. His are like 10 minutes long. He talks about personal
Mm.
finance and stuff, but the idea that you create a short little series. There's basically a podcast, could be video, could be just audio, and it's easy to share. So when someone comes across your stuff, they've gotten past the about page, they've gotten past like that intro stuff. They want to get into things a bit more, but they don't want to watch like endless podcast episodes. They don't have hours and hours. So you have a
Yeah.
little mini series. It kind of takes them through a little journey and a
Hmm.
concept and so on. And it's maybe an hour long total. It's 45 minutes, an hour and a half. It's something that's easy to like binge in basically one go and gets them that much further into the funnel.
That is an interesting idea. I've listened to his podcast
Yeah,
and yeah, so familiar. I love those bite-sized content
yeah,
pieces like that.
yeah. It's very
Yeah.
approachable. Mm. How do you feel about the question of branding? Does that feel constricting to be like marketing branding be known as something, and try to fit things under that brand?
Yeah. I always resisted like when people started talking more about your personal brand, like
Mm.
I am not a product.
Yeah, yeah,
But, it's basically reputation, right?
yeah,
So just how do I feel about it? Like
yeah. Does it feel constricting?
constricting, as a multi-potentialite.
Basically, yes.
Ah, yes, in a way, because I think about all the way, like all the different changes that I've made to my LinkedIn page.
Mm.
Like that's where your branding, that's where your personal professional branding is. That's where your reputation like lives online, if
Yeah.
nowhere else as a professional.
Mm.
And that headline, that who I am, it's changed so many times. So it has
Mm.
been constricting in those, what five short lines that they give you. Like I wanna put everything up there. I wanna put that I'm a piano student on there and
Yeah, yeah, cool. Hmm.
an amateur filmmaker. But where
Right.
does that fit? So I think some of these things just have to remain hobbies, and you don't bring them into your primary business. Maybe it's a different. Some things just need to remain hobbies and things that you do for just for the enjoyment.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it sounds a little transactional, but in the sense that if, say, piano playing, learning piano was a way to connect with potential clients to generate some leads, in that case, well, if it's not obviously something directly related to music, it's just that there's some kind of common interest and maybe the mentality of, learning an instrument as an adult or whatever it is, right? If that served a purpose, then I think there's a place for it. But as a
Hmm.
transactional thing, it's not necessarily because just to share the joy of doing that. It's because you're
Yeah,
trying to connect with people to whom that resonates. And that's nice, but I don't want to transaction all of my interests and passions, right? Some things are just purely interest. I'm not trying to make money. I'm not trying to do
right.
anything else. It's just a joy. That's maybe it's good that a thing like LinkedIn exists that has that professional box kind of framework and you can really
Yeah, yeah,
channel things that go there that are meant to go there and other things go to other places.
yeah. I'm So I have a need for a place for those things to live because
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
pointed out
that's
to
interesting.
you the thing that's happening behind me, and I guess I'll show. everyone the mess. So that is
We're looking at a
partially,
table full of boxes and things.
yeah, it also is down there too. So I've got
On the floor, yeah.
seven plastic boxes of family photos
Oh,
that
okay.
I'm sorting through and having
Hmm.
digitized. So
Wow.
it's a project. I started it last Saturday. Hope to finish this weekend and get it
Really?
into somebody. But so my that's just one piece of it.
I
Family
thought you'd say by like
photos.
the end of the year.
Oh no, no. I've had it sitting here in my apartment for 2 years.
Yeah. Okay.
I need to get it. So I also have, my dad was a prolific photographer
Hmm.
and writer. So that's where I get some of that from. I've got slides, like 2 boxes of
Oh, yeah.
slides. I haven't even touched those. I've got
Wow.
two bigger, like file size boxes of notebooks of his poems and
Hmm.
letters and diaries.
Nice.
Um, and I've started reading through them, and he died in 2019. So it's been really
Hmm.
illuminating and, getting to know a side of him that
Yeah.
I really,
Hmm.
did not have a chance to when he was alive. So,
Hmm.
um, all that to say, that's part of kind of my memoir project, even though that's his
Nice.
story.
Yeah, you're part
I
of it.
have, yeah, I'm part of it. And, his story is a big part of
Hmm.
who I am. My first blog on Eco Wonder Woman was about my first vacation to Holly River, where he took us and where his
Hmm.
family vacationed for generations.
Hmm.
So, just there's family through lines, right? And I was researching my genealogy back in the 90s.
Hmm.
So I've got a lot of that too. And like, I want to have a place where I can provide all this to other family members.
Yeah.
Um, as
Hmm.
well as, putting my own writings on there too that aren't really related to what I'm doing professionally.
Right. Well, there you go. So, I mean, that's a passion project.
Passion project,
Um,
yes.
do you feel any pressure that it has to be somehow something that helps build your brand? Going back to that?
No, no,
Hmm.
I don't.
Good.
Not at all. I see those as separate. It could be where people find me
Right.
and realize that I'm doing this other thing or vice versa.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I like that in the sense that it's serendipitous. It's a bit of a coincidence if they come across,
mhm,
and think about it. We do come across people in various ways, shapes and forms, wherever it may be, and because of something they're doing, some interest, and then if you're able to like read a bit of their bio or their website or whatever it is, and it turns out, oh, actually they do this other thing,
yeah,
which happens to be something I need, or I know someone who needs it. It's fun to make those kinds of connections because it didn't start out with you needed that thing and they were offering that thing and it's all very transactional again. It's all just very serendipitous and human
right.
experience. I like that.
And back to the piano, the music piece.
Yeah.
Like I said, he's got songs that he wrote too.
Hmm.
He was a guitar player, and
Hmm.
he's got like, we found four songs that he recorded of himself singing. So he's got all these songs that he wrote, like he composed,
Hmm.
and I would love to put them to music and put some lyrics on them or vice
Yeah.
versa for his poems. So
Hmm. Neat.
maybe that's something. But yeah, it's like I would love to have it get out in the world because I know that
Hmm.
he wanted some of that out in the world. But
Hmm.
to have it monetized, nah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fine. Well, let's bring it back to how can people find you? What's the first place you send them when they want to know more about you and contact you?
Yeah, people can find me on my website, which is csboyceconsulting.com.
Hmm.
Boyce is spelled Boyce, CS Boyce.
Right.
Or they can find me on LinkedIn, Carolyn S. Boyce.
Hmm. Carolyn with a Y.
Carolyn with a Y, no E.
Yes. Yeah. We'll put the
So
links in the notes
those are
here.
the two primary places.
Okay, well, we'll send people that way. And is there any one way, is there any one question that you'd love to have a listener ask you, approach you about? if anything comes to mind.
One question. No, you should have given me a heads up on this so I could think about it.
I just thought of it. I've never thought of this question before. I'm going to keep using it going forward.
Yeah, that's like, this is your
spontaneous.
signature ending question, and I am starting it. I have to provide the first answer to this question. I would say I would want people to ask me why I do is important to me.
Yeah, that's great. Do you want to answer that now or leave it as a cliffhanger?
I'll leave it as a cliffhanger because
Nice.
it's not just an answer, it's a conversation.
Right.
So I want to connect with people as to why they want to do something, why it's important for them to want to do something.
Yeah.
And just like find those commonalities.
Yeah, that's great. Cool. Oh, that's a great way to end on. So everyone listening, watching, if you want to ask that question, if you want to have that conversation, reach out to Carolyn and take it away. Yeah, I'd love to see connections built from this episode as from every episode, and I'm excited to see where you get to over the next little while.
Well, thanks so much, Ted. I look forward to having those conversations, and I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, it's been fun. Cheers. Well, do reach out to Carolyn if you want to hear more about her plans and where she goes next. If you want to toss around some business ideas. Again, as always, that's what our podcast is for connecting people. And really that starts with having conversations. So the conversation that starts on the podcast between myself and the guest, Carolyn in this case, it can continue with you, our listeners, our viewers. Just reach out, send a message, send an email, and see where it goes. So don't hesitate at all. We'd love to hear some stories of, people who've connected here on the show. That's what we're here for. And of course, we'll have the links to how you can reach out to Carolyn here in the show notes. So do check that out. Don't forget to visit themultipod.com for the full notes for this episode. And of course, our big archive of episodes. It's sometimes easy to forget. We do go back to 2018 and I've lost count. There's 130 something episodes, I think, maybe 140. We're pretty close to that now over all that time. So lots of stuff to dig into. As you know, we've been doing the show. It's been over a year now. It was May of last year, 2025, that I brought the Multipod back in this kind of expanded format with video episodes and really emphasizing that connectivity call to action. So it's been a bit of a change. Of course, you'll see that in the episodes from the past year and how they've changed. But lots of interesting conversations for sure. And, if there's a topic you see in the title of an episode from, 4 years, 6 years ago that jumps out, I encourage you to check it out. I'd love to have you part of the show, part of that conversation. As always, don't hesitate to reach out. You can send me a message. If we're connected already in one of our various communities, like the Puttyverse or our Indie Life Collective, you can send me a message there. And you may have my email already. And the podcast itself has its own email, themultipodcast@gmail.com. You can certainly write to me there. I'd love to hear your ideas. And if, like Carolyn, you want to share some brainstorming and what you're up to and hopefully get some feedback and make some connections from that, this is a great place to do it. Now, our next episode, coming up in a couple of weeks, features an exploration of multipotentiality as it applies to filmmaking. My guest is an actor, a screenwriter, a filmmaker, and she is multipotentialite, and her challenge, of course, has been to how to take all those various inspirations and ways of making movies and applying that to her creative work. It's very much a conversation that focuses on the artistic, creative side of multipotentiality, and in this case, how it applies to filmmaking. So if that speaks to you, if it's something you're interested in, I know you really enjoyed that conversation coming up very soon. Stay tuned for that. I'd love to hear from you, and we'll be back in a couple weeks.